we are back after a little bit of a hiatus because Julie and I are a little bit busy, but we're here today with Glam and Grind with Rach
and Julz. We're trying to get back on track here.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about banking bargains because I am in the thick of it right now and Julie knows all the things. So we're going to talk to you guys about mastering negotiations and favorable terms and a little bit of all the little other things thrown into it. And first of all, we want to talk about why we took this little break and where we've been. Julie,
Awesome.
where have you been?
Yeah, so I've been around the world and pretty much. I've flown, I don't know, thousands of miles in April, basically. So I was in Florida, actually with Rach for GrowthCon. I think you guys saw some of our posts and we did post some stuff in the community on that. And it was an amazing time. 10X is always 10X. So super excited to be there. More excited that Rach and I were able to bring our boys. I thought that was super cool.
Yes.
And we got to touch base with lots of folks we knew and made new friends there as well. I think the boys really liked it. Definitely. Zav, anyways, I can talk from my end and then you can chat, Rachel, too, about Zach. But I think it's always rejuvenating for Zav. Like this is his third or fourth GrowthCon now. And every time he comes back, he's like motivated, reading more books, like wanting to learn more, asking all the business questions. You know, it kind of refuels him. So like us, like business owners, I feel like it's great, you know, whether it's employees or our children or whoever, I think it's great to have them look forward to something every year that's that has to do with their personal development. I really feel like it's the best money I spend every year. We get a chance to connect as well, which I think is really great because when you have 4 kids, you know, Rach, it's like hard to get individual time with any of them. So I just really love this event. It's kind of like Zav in my deal. And so it was great to have you and, you know, a bunch of friends and their kids come out this time. I think it was just amazing, you know. So what did you think about it? Tell me, because it was your first GrowthCon. So.
Yeah, it was my first one. And for us, it was, you know, an investment because it was our first one. And Zach has never been to any conferences before. And so it was kind of just this like, oh, how's this going to be? And he loved it. He actually said to me at the end, he's like, I want to come back next year. And he loved getting to hear Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the different people that he got to hear and Mike Tyson, and he learned so much. And he got to hear not only that, but he got to learn from you and Zav and just seeing business from a different view because all he knows of business is me in our little world, you know. So getting him to get out there, but also hear the other speakers talk about their businesses. And so that was actually really good for him because he came away from it thinking, I can do this on my own. Like, I don't need my mom and her business and what she's built to make it in the world. And I want to do it on my own. And so he was really inspired that way. And so, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and even just giving him that confidence, right? Like I saw a lift in his confidence from like when he started at the beginning, like teaching us to like the end and asking more questions. And, you know, I think it just spurs something in them that like helps them feel more confident and understand like, hey, my passion doesn't have to be my mom's passion or what she's done. And maybe it could be totally something different. Like, you know, Zav loves fitness and the journey and all the things. And I'm like, you do you, boo. Like, you know, you got to make your dream as well. And I'm going to support whatever that looks like. Right. And so I think it's so good for them to be able to like really just find themselves. You know, it's a journey as well for them. So the investment, you know, I think is just so important anyways. I always say, and Grant says too, and you know, he's my coach, but he always says like, invest in yourself first, right? Like people are worried to spend money a lot of times on themselves. Like, oh, you know, but if you're not growing and learning, like you're just not going to be moving, right? You're just going to stay in the same space. You're not going to get in rooms where things become possible. I mean, I know that for sure. I think you've, you know, experienced that this year as well. And like, just the things that are out there, you don't know what you don't know. And I know that we say that all the time, but you really don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
get in these rooms, right, with these people. Like Zav has a real interest in this fitness journey, right? But he was able to like hang out with and talk with a guy that owns 600 gyms all over like Asia. That is not going to happen in your college. That's not going to happen in your normally in your neighborhood, right? I mean, it might, but just being in places and putting yourself in rooms where you spend money for development, I think I just can't express how important that is. And I know people are like, well, you know, they want to save the money, but I really do think it's an investment in yourself is something that is just crucial, I think, for growth and development. So anyways, I was super excited that we spent the money, and I think it's going to be a great return, you know, in the future for them. So,
and I just want to say also investing in yourself, but also investing in your legacy, which is your children. Right. And it opened up so many great conversations between me and him. Like, hey, he was asking questions. He was asking questions to Zad. He was asking questions to you. And, you know, just learning from other people out there was really, because he's my like philosophical thinker, you know, he's kind of quiet. But then when he asked questions, he asked those deep questions. He also got some books, which he's reading from there. And, you know, just the whole real estate piece, the whole investing, which I didn't do until just now, you know. And so getting him started on all of that at a young age and seeing other people that have done it, I think was really inspiring and helpful for him. And also being able to see those verticals, like Arnold Schwarzenegger talked about, like he invested in real estate before he was an actor. And so getting to see that he was successful before he was successful, and he had all these other things going on at the same time. So, you know, having all of that experience and getting to witness that, I think was the best part for him. And
yeah, it just opens their mind to possibilities, right? It opens their mind to the big or bigger thinking rather than staying, you know, small and thinking in their little zone. And I think the earlier you can do that for your kids, the better it is, because, you know, both of us, me for sure, learned much later than I would have desired to learn all those things. I wish we knew what we knew earlier. I'm not saying we did bad or we didn't, you know, do enough, but what we could have done, I think, would have been insurmountable had we known this stuff 20 years ago, right? And they're like 19 and 18 and babies, really, you know, in the start of the journey. So yeah, I want to have them on to at one point to chat, you know, with moms or entrepreneurs about, you know, just what happens after us and like what the kids are kind of taking away from these experiences. I think it would be a cool thing to hear from them too. But yeah, I think both their feedback was pretty positive and it was a great time. It's exhausting because you're mentally like drained. Whenever I go to these conferences, I have 9,000 ideas I feel like I need to act on in the same week. But yeah. And then after GrowthCon, I headed out. Well, you headed out. You can tell your story, but I headed out. I came home for 24 hours. Left Xavier so he could go back to school. And then I turned around with Bo, my husband, and we took off to Thailand to meet our friends, Lucy and Pete, who are amazeballs. They are in Australia. So we met them a long time ago, years ago, through the Child Care Network. And we ended up going to see them about 3 years in our friendship journey in Australia and New Zealand with the kids. And it was amazing. But they said, hey, let's meet in Thailand. So of course I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, no question. So they got a beautiful villa in Phuket, this gorgeous, huge Balinese villa. And there was six couples, or maybe 5, 10 or 12 of us. I can't remember exactly now. But, and then some came later, some stayed later, some came in early, left earlier. So we thought we would meet them and then do Asia. So I don't know if you know Julie, but Julz over here is a bit of a bougie traveler. So 36 hours to Asia to get to Thailand through Narita, through Japan, well, through Texas. So Omaha, Texas, Narita, Japan, Thailand. Yeah, and like a 19-hour time change. We had been to Asia before, but just Japan. Thailand is a very different Asia. We were able to see a lot. It was cool. I would tell you, like, people are like in love with Thailand. I would not say that is my experience. I loved the elephants because I'm an elephant lover and we got to shower and feed them. There's a bunch of pictures on my social if you want to check it out. That is a definite repeat. For me, Thailand is a do not repeat. I didn't love it. I loved seeing Lucy and Pete, and every minute I spent with them was amazing. I was able to spend a whole day just chatting with Lucy under the gazebo while we hung out at the villa. So it was amazing. We got all caught up, and we talk a lot anyways, via FaceTime, but it's nice to be in person. And then we got to do the elephants together and a bunch of stuff. But I am a super, super picky eater. For those of you that know me, I eat like ice cream and pizza.
Chips and chips.
I eat like toddler food. So I brought a bunch of protein bars and things like that. But I really early on got what we call Buddha belly. So it was no fun. The water, you have to be careful with the water. You have to be careful with the ice cubes. You have to be careful with all things Thailand. So Miss Julie did not have as an amazing time when that was going on. So I had a lot of nausea and a lot of like, feel like you're going to throw up situations, that kind of stuff. A lot of the food is outdoor. So the conditions are, interesting for sanitization. I like bathrooms and water that you can drink and things like that. So it was definitely different. I'm glad that I went. We saw all the things we wanted to see in Bangkok and Phuket, and got to see all the Buddhas. I've seen every Buddha in Thailand, I think. We had an awesome private tour. I have some great ideas if you want to go to Thailand. Get Your Guide app is imperative. Grab app is imperative. We had private tours. It's very, very cheap. So if anybody wants to do Asia very cheaply, like 1,000 baht, BHAT is their money, which is like Thailand money, whatever, is like $27. And like, wow. $1,000 got, or 1,000 baht got us like a full private day tour, a full private driver, entrances into all the places. So like, it's really, really cheap, which is super cool. So I kind of went all over on that, but yeah, Thailand is a DNR for me, which is a do not ever hear DNR for me. That's what that means. I'm super glad I did it. The Thai people are incredible, super beautiful people, very, very friendly, very nice. The food is spicy, pad thais, like think all that stuff that people love. Miss Julie doesn't eat. So Bo liked all that stuff. But you still have to be careful about the food. We just live in a different country. So the food and sanitization expectations are different. And so for me, it is just a thing. When I go away, there's always a food thing, but this was particularly a little bit worse for me. So I kind of battled that stomach thing for pretty much the whole time I was there. So it was hotter than HE double hockey sticks. So it was 44 in the morning before you basically woke up. So it's like super heavy, super thick. You sweat like you're just evaporating water. Bo was like dripping like a faucet. So you just can't.
They needed the towel like Travis Kelce walking around.
Like it was like you can't keep up with hydration. So it's a constant battle with like you're trying to drink but you don't want to drink because there's ice, and then without the ice it's not cold. It's just, and I'm not trying to be picky. Like I said, it's a beautiful country. It's really nice. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be from the pictures and all the things that I've seen, right? And so, but it was amazing to spend the time with Lucy and Pete. We're so grateful that we were, asked to come. The villa was incredibly beautiful. We had an infinity pool. It was beautiful. Like we had a maid and a butler and people, doing all the things. So it was incredible. But just in general, like when you go into town and to the beach and, those types of things, you just have to be a little careful about what you eat and drink. And you have to bring meds from the US. It's very important. I'm really glad we had all the things for stomach stuff and all that stuff. Anyways, it's like when you go, anywhere,
Mexico,
than home. Right. Yeah.
So it's funny because I went and met a girl who's traveled all over the world, and I asked her favorite places, and one of them was Thailand. And so before you went, I bought all these little Thailand trinkets because I was going to take Abby there for her college graduation. I came back and was telling her all about it. And Eric was like, "You're too bougie for that."
Yes. You know what? honestly, I'm not like, I like adventure and I like to try new places. I just don't think that this was just one of my favorites. That's all.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was nice. I'm glad we did it. We checked the box. We went to Thailand. I've been waiting. I think the other thing is I pumped myself up so much about what I thought Thailand was going to be, because when I was living in Europe, all my friends went to Phuket and we didn't get to go because we were playing soccer. And I was like, man, I really want to go to Phuket. So I had this thing in my head for 20 years, like how Phuket was going to be and how incredible. And I think when you've seen a lot of the world too, right? Where I'm in a different place where I've seen a lot of different places, I think it was now not what I had in my mind, right? I was thinking
No.
crystal
Yeah.
beaches, pristine. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, just didn't translate. It's not about, it wasn't bad. Like, it
Yeah.
was good. It was just, I wouldn't do it again. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would do it again with Lucy anywhere, but I wouldn't do that place again. And we talked about that. I said, would you ever come back? And we were all chatting. And I think the other thing too is now, once I do somewhere, I don't want to go back because I want to see something else. Right. And so I think we're in that part in our life where a lot is going to be a DNR for me, because except for Hawaii, maybe, because that I don't think I'll ever get over Hawaii. It's like my favorite place on earth. But I don't think like I want to see the same places. I'd rather like travel and see something new. And so that's probably part of my mindset shift too. So if we're talking about, like favorite trips, I think what I would have done 10 years ago again or repeated, I'm now like, well, now let's just go to a different country. I want to see something new. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's beautiful. And if you have the opportunity to do Thailand, absolutely. I think, everyone should do it once. Bangkok is incredible. It's like a huge city, insane. And like really the Buddhas are like magnificent. Like they're huge. Like you'd never, like I didn't imagine any of what I saw. So it was cool. But,
yeah.
So after Thailand,
crazy. Yeah.
we ended up, we were supposed to go to Singapore and we actually cut that out of our agenda and did a detour to LA because we were like, we're just going to go back to the US for a little bit and chill and just be at the beach or hang out at the pool. Well, LA was 49 degrees. I don't know if you knew that. So I was like, oh, nope, detour. So when we got there, I rebooked and we headed to Hawaii and we're like, let's spend the last week over here because we had Bo's parents. So it was so nice to be able to have time with no kids. Like we love bringing the kids, but we haven't done it for a long time. So it was nice reconnecting too. I think it's important. So anyways, Friday, Saturday, I don't know, this weekend. So we're back and now I'm just regrouping and recollecting for May. So yeah. Rach, you had a big sale.
Yeah.
Why?
We closed our Utah schools. So Jen and I were in Utah. Yeah, we went straight from Florida to Utah and we were there. And then we went and I just got back from conference in New York for AELL. And that was awesome. And I got to bring 6 of our leaders to that. And 3 of them are new leaders. So it was really great. 5 of them have never been to a conference at all. So it was really awesome to spend time loving on them, spoiling them, getting to show them new things, new experiences that they would never get to see before.
Yeah, like an awesome way to get to know them,
Yeah, and bonding with them and learning. And then they came back all fired up and ready to spread what they've learned and spread the love. Because I told them that my big thing is I want to love on them and pour into them and give them everything so that they can go back and love on their people and pour into their people, and so that it just spreads and spreads and spreads. And so they were really excited about that. And I love that. And I had to speak there at that conference. And then I'm going next week for another conference to speak. And then I'm for a minute. So we had this minute that we're like, let's record so we can get a little bit caught up.
We need to do a couple this week because we're kind of behind. So we're going to have to at least get to our 10 out there and then hopefully back to weekly. But we both have crazy summer schedules too. So we'll see how all this goes. But we miss all the followers and all the comments and all the, you guys are really engaged. I love getting feedback from you guys as well. So it's nice. someone texted me, "Where the hell are you guys? We're waiting. Like, what's going on?" And so I was like, "I'm so sorry. We're traveling the world, but we'll be back this week."
Yeah.
It's really nice that, that you guys are enjoying the podcast too. And hopefully we're providing value for you guys, and that you're, learning something when you watch us, and it's not just, filling time for you, but that, that you're taking away something anyways, every day from our
And I
podcast.
got to meet some of you at the conference this week, which was really fun. Like you came up to me like, "Hey, are you Rach? I follow your podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, yes." So that was
So
really fun. And yeah,
yeah,
same thing. But
that's
yeah.
awesome.
So today we're going to talk about banking bargains and mastering negotiations, not only on banking, but vendors. Because that's one of the things that a lot of us are afraid to do. We're with a bank forever. I know for me. And so we're like, it's just easy, right? We don't want to change. There's all of our ACHs and everything's all set up. So we don't want to change. So we stay in there forever. And we're afraid to look for the bargains. Same with our vendors. We've got this vendor list that we've had forever. And we just stay with them because it's just easy. And if you're like me and a lot of other entrepreneurs who go to all of these conferences, we come back and we're like, "Oh, I found this new shiny thing. Let's add another vendor." And we have to be mindful of the stack of vendors that we have and go through and audit that so that we can really be increasing our bottom line, which is what it's all about. So, Julie, you want to start with?
Well, yeah, I think we can just talk about, that you're looking, at options for banks. And I have been through 3 or 4 major bank changes with our company as we grew. And I think it's okay to change banks when you grow. So what you start with doesn't always mean that they're able to provide either the interest rates that are required or the credit value that you need as you grow. So smaller local banks sometimes are amazing. Like I've actually had better luck with local banks than I have had with big banks. I've had big banks, local banks, community banks, mid-sized banks. The bank that we're currently with now, I actually, I'm going to refer Rachel after this podcast to, but I think the main thing, so there's a lot of things that we can talk about. And I think, Rachel, you can kind of, let people know what you were looking for too. But I think there's a few things. So the first thing is the bank relationship. So like I put a lot of onus, pressure, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it, but confidence in the management of the bank and my relationship with either my private banker or the president of the bank, or I always like to get to know and meet the president of the bank because I don't like to talk to the middle people. I want not
Yeah.
the middle. So I don't want to go through 19 hoops when I have, especially as an entrepreneur, we need to make decisions really quickly. And so I found that with the big
And
banks,
move money quickly
move
sometimes.
money. Like sometimes I have to have a text about a wire, and it's not a little wire. It could be a big wire. And I need that wire done, as long as mostly it's in banking hours, right? I always try to be cognizant of like the 8 to 4, but sometimes it's not as well. And then, there's that part. But for the most part, I like to have a person, like I want to have my person at the bank, or I want to have my team at the bank. So the bank that we're currently at that I'm actually suggesting for Rachel is I have a personal banking contact where I can pick up the phone and I know I can have her at my disposal. Like I know that she'll pick up or text me or whatever. She's very cognizant of the entrepreneurial journey and what we need. And then I have a team, like a treasury team, who I can be like, "Hey, Alyssa, I need a wire to da 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 da," and then she'll call me or text me for confirmation, make sure it's me. Like they're really good about the security part, but there's not a lot of minutia, right? She sends it to me on DocuSign. I can sign, send, get everything sent out. Or, I mean, I can do it myself online, but I usually just have them do everything. And then I just sign DocuSign. And that is in a matter of minutes, right? Seconds, whatever. And so that was important to me. But the relationship piece is really big for me. Having a relationship piece with the management, I think for me was important. We left a large bank. I'm not going to say which one, but it was a large bank because I had no one. Like I didn't have a contact. I didn't have a personal banker. I didn't have a team that I felt like I could call when I needed to. I also wasn't getting any special services. I was like just a number. I was like,
Mm,
they were like, oh, even though we had a large account, it wasn't like it didn't stand out in their books as like exceptional, right?
yeah.
Where from day one, this bank has made us feel like we are an exceptional customer, an exceptional client. Like they just will go above and beyond to get things done for us. And I think in any bank that you're choosing, that is imperative,
Yeah.
Um, Rachel, maybe you can talk to a little bit about like
Yeah. So
what you're missing, gap
yeah,
is.
we were at a big bank also for many years. And same thing. That's what we were missing was the relationship.
The
And
person.
we weren't also getting any special services except for a lot of special fees, which were not fun. So, we had also a large account and we weren't getting the special services. We weren't getting the relationship. I couldn't just call and pick up. I didn't even know what to do really. And then I switched to a local bank, which then we were getting that same, we had the personal, could talk to the president, all the things that you're saying that as far as the relationship goes, which we needed. However, because they were a small bank, they weren't able to meet our needs as we scaled. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because I think it's important that as you scale, not to be afraid to do things that fit you and your next level. Because like Julie's talked about, we have break points. When you get to a break point, you have to reevaluate. Like, okay,
Every
this bank can't meet my needs. Yeah. So I can't move money fast. I can't get a wire from New York when my bank's in Montana. I can't do all of these things that I need to do quickly. Also, I'm not getting the interest rate that I need, or I can't increase, get the loans that I need for the amount I need because the bank just can't support a business our size.
So,
So go
a
ahead,
couple
Julie.
things on that because you brought up some great points. So, one on interest rates, people kind of just let and set when you have your own bank and you kind of like what bank you're at, you kind of just let it go. You're not pushing them to perform. And I'm not saying you have to be super aggressive, but I do think that your bank should want to keep you and you should be asking for stuff. I have a mentor that said closed mouths don't get fed. And I have remembered that now constantly because as it comes up on our renewals yearly, I have a calendar invite in February, and it says, ask bank about rates and ask bank to, have a meeting. And we have a meeting every year with the bank. We sit down and we sat down with our business manager and the president of the bank. And we just said, hey, like, here's all our accounts. And they ask us about like, what are your projects this year? What do you think you're going to do? So they're a partner with us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a partner in wealth building for us as well. So in that, the interest rate thing, it's addressed every year. Like if we have a certain amount of money in the bank, which we tend to sort of keep, I always tell like large business owners to try to keep $1 million liquid. And that's going to be different based on a lot of different breakpoints, of course. But if you are a multi-level, multi-platformed site of businesses, $1 million is generally what I would put out there. That's, again, we're talking a general audience. Now, if you're a small business, it's usually 2 to 3 months at minimum of all of your expenses. But when you're 10 sites, I always say like have at least 100 grand across each site to just cover if anything happens. As a multi-level or a multi-scaled or platformed business owner, you're never going to have all of the businesses have issues at once, right? But you want to have enough that even if you had 2 things happen, you can cover because things happen. So that's the one piece. And in terms of the bank part of that, you want to be asking them, what rates they can get you for those deposits, especially if you have a decent amount of deposits coming in. And most platformed or multi-level sites have good deposits. And a lot of the money stays in the bank for 30, 60, 90, 120, 6 months. And so a couple of things we were talking about, sorry, the 6-month piece, people are like asking me a lot, well, should we just put them in CDs, right? Certified or deposits. I don't like CDs because I like my money to be available. So I want to be able to go to the bank and have liquidity, right? And so not because I'm going to use it, not because I need it, but because I want to be able to do whatever I want with my money. So CDs lock you in for a little bit of a higher rate, but you're locked in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 24 months, 3 years, whatever. We talked about this today, Rachel. So, so what I do instead is that I negotiate a better interest rate for me to bring all my deposits over, right? So I bring all my business to that bank, and then they negotiate a higher rate. So all of my accounts that I have my money in terms of Money Master, so my larger, like not my operational accounts, but what we would call a Money Master account, or my sweep account, or my account that has a lot more cash going into it, those accounts shouldn't be making more right now. So it shouldn't be making less right now than about 4%. So that would be sort of at a minimum. Mine are making more than that. And of course, you have to have balance. You have to have a balance. You have to have money. They're not going to give you 4% on $5,000, but if you have a multi-site location and you have the ability to have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposits coming in a month, you should be able to leverage that. So just like we leverage real estate, just like we leverage down payments, just like we leverage all of the other stuff in business, you can leverage the fact that you are a deposit bringer. So you're going to be bringing deposits to this bank. They love people that have deposits, right? So you're able to leverage that and get better, and you can leverage it against other banks, right? So
which is what I'm doing right now.
Right. We always have banks come to us and say, we can give you, this much. So then I'll say, okay, let me take it to my bank because I love my bank and I don't want to leave. And I truly love our bank. Like they have come up with whatever we needed, like all the time, honestly. And so I want to respect the relationship with them. So I would never leave without giving them the opportunity. But there has been banks we had to leave because either they couldn't match the credit that we could get elsewhere, or the rates, or the availability of services, or the efficiency. So from a business owner's point of view, sometimes it's not even about the money or the interest. It's about like, how quick can I get my business done? And like, I can't be in New York and not have access to do a wire.
Yeah.
Like
it's very frustrating.
Well, you can't work like that at the level that we're at, right? And so I think it's important to understand there's some things that you should talk to your bank about. Interest is one of them. Like, what are you going to make on the deposits? That's like a good question. For sure, the personal relationship, like we talked about, right? What's the reliability of that person? Can you call? Are they efficient on your requests? Are they getting back to you quickly? Like, so this is just an example. I was looking at a business a month ago and I was like, hey, I need a term letter. I want to know what you would give me this, lending at and how much and blah, blah, blah. I had a same day term letter, I think it's important for them to be proactive with you as well as reactive when you need them to be, right? And so the reliability of them being able to get back to me quickly is important for me because I make crazy decisions fast and I don't have time to like get this whole, we'll get back to this guy. We have a meeting on Thursday with the board.
24 hours, blah, blah, blah.
Sometimes it's over a week by the time you get the people you need. So time is everything for me in business, and
putting holds on it because it's large amounts. That just drives me crazy.
They are very great about there's security. Like there is security. There's a process, but there's no holds. Like when you were telling me you have holds and like that can't happen because you're dealing with large amounts of money. Your payroll, right? You'd have that on a hold. Can't, right? Those are the things. So really important. That you have a good reputation in the community. Our bank has a great reputation in the community. I mean, most banks are going to. I actually, my large bank did not have a good reputation in our community. So, it just didn't have a good reputation, I think, in general for customer service. You were going to say something, Rach?
I was just going to say that I met with another bank today, and I'm going to talk to Julie's bank as well. I really liked most of everything this bank said to me today. And they're a community bank. And what I didn't know until today, and the banker actually told me this, Julie told me this also, but he said the rates are negotiable. And when he said that to me, I was just like, what? That's a
I
thing?
told you that. I was like, Rachel,
Yeah.
go back and ask for this now. And she's like, really? I'm like, yes. Like, do not just say yes. I mean, especially when you're dealing with the type of deposits, you're dealing with right now, or I was dealing with the schools, you have a lot of money flowing through. So you have leverage, like, they want your business, right? And
he also told me that not only are they negotiable on the interest rate, because he was like, I want you to make as much money possible interest wise, but also he told me that it's negotiable on the loan side. He said they have like sweep loan accounts so that you can pay less interest monthly based on the sweep, and then you get more on the sweep of the deposits. And I'm like, that's amazing. How come
Well, and that's what I was texting you today. So the other thing too is, and I don't know if they've mentioned this, but definitely when you talk to our bank, get a business line of credit. So we got a business line of credit for like prime +2 at the time. And that credit was ongoing. So it was always open. So if we ever needed, anything and we didn't want to use our cash or our whatever, we had this line that was constantly like, we could borrow and just pay off and borrow and pay off. And so like all those pieces, like that you are missing because you've outgrown the current situation, is all the things you have to consider when you're changing a bank, right? Like, what are they able to give you? A team, like my treasury management team is awesome. All 3 of them, I could call at any time. I just do an email to treasury management, although I know all their names, and one of them will get back to me in like 2 seconds. If one's away, they CC each other so that somebody gets the email. Like, it's not this like going into the abyss and now what are we going to do? And you can text direct. And
the other thing, like you said about specialized services, so that's something that they talked to me about today as well, which I never knew was a thing. And they said to me, because of the amount of deposits you have coming in, everything is free. He's like, anything you want, we'll give it to you. You need payroll, you need merchant services, you need checks, you need, whatever you need, like you can have it for free because of how much deposits you have coming in. So all of that is so important as you grow, that's managing your bottom line, y'all. It's thousands, it's a few $1,000s a month that you wouldn't have had, that you're just going to be able to.
Rachel, it's actually managing your top line. Like we keep talking about how, so expenses are always going to be expenses. And yes, you can kind of manage them and micromanage them and squeeze them out. But at the top line level, right? Like even let's just talk about revenue, incoming money, your percentage on that money right now, you're losing 5%. Let's just call it $1 million. That's a lot of money. Like that you're just letting out the door, where it could be just accumulating like with a no do, no show, just on the side. That's extra money for you, your family, the schools, whatever, right? Extra team members, whatever you need. So it is actually even affecting the top line because you're going to be making more money without doing anything extra. So it's really important to push your banks a little bit, guys. Like you have to have that relationship. You also have to understand that like it's super competitive right now for deposits. Like banks need money. That's how they operate. They take your money, they loan it out. The process. I mean, if you don't, the whole banking system books, but the big thing is just to ask. I mean, all they can say is no, and then you can ask the next bank, right? And you love the relationship with your bank and you honor that relationship. That's what you start with. Like every time I go, we have the meeting, I say, I love you. I don't want to leave, but here is what people are calling me with offers on. What can you do for me so that, we can make this viable and good for both of us? And if they are smart and they're a good bank, they're going to come back with the best they can do for you. And even if it's not exact, but the relationship for me matters, I'm okay with that, right? Like I'll find a happy medium, but I'm asking all the time. Every year I reevaluate just like anything else. So yeah.
Just wanted to touch on the sweep account really fast because that was something that I didn't know about before, and it's been super helpful. Is the money sweeps in and out every day, and you aren't penalized on when the money's not in the account. And the reason why it does that is because it sweeps into a money market account where you're going to get that maximum interest, and then sweeps back into your account to pay for anything that comes in. But it doesn't penalize you. So, like if payroll comes out or whatever on a day that it's lower than your minimum amount that's in there. It just automatically will sweep to cover your payroll or whatever. So that is really helpful, especially when you've got these big accounts that have a lot of money in them. And this is kind of controversial, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. Is having when you're a smaller organization, it's okay to have like a separate bank account for every location to help you manage those funds better and manage each location's, money coming in and out. But as you grow, it's a lot harder to manage. Like right now I have 18 bank accounts and we're condensing that down. So it's a lot harder to manage all of that. Plus you're not going to be able to maximize on those sweep accounts. So we are going to be minimizing it to one account per region so that it still can sweep in and out with bigger deposits. But then when you've got those bigger deposits, you have to now insure it. And so anything over $250,000, you need to insure it. And that's why you need to also choose a bank that can go above that $250,000 because my smaller bank wasn't able to do that.
And we had
so
that.
That's important too.
Yeah, I was like, Rachel, you need to ask them for the extra insurance over the 250. And also while you're doing that, ask them if they'll pay for the extra overage of insurance. And whether they do or not is here nor there, but it's an ask, right? You can always ask for everything, and closed mouths don't get fed, right? So ask, and sometimes you shall receive. But we talked about that today, and I was like, ask for everything. I mean, all they can say is no, right? And so Rachel's like, hey, I'm asking. I went back and I'm asking. I'm like, yes, ask, because
I did.
You're not going to get that, right? Like fees, rates, all the things, right? Everything is negotiable if it makes sense. And if you're a good client and they want you, they will make it make sense for you, right? And I'm not saying it's all favorable in your section or theirs, right? It has to work for both, but you also want a bank that's stable, right? I mean, like there's all those pieces we didn't cover, but you want to make sure that the bank is FDIC insurable and has your money safe in a good spot, and that your relationship matters and you're getting what you need, and that they're a good bank. You don't want to just negotiate into a bank that, puts you at risk or anything like that. So, understanding what your needs are is really important, and also understanding whether or not that bank is the appropriate bank for number of transactions you need, transfers, wires, debt service, all the
amount
things.
of number of money amount of transactions. That one thing I talked to them about today, because our bank that we currently have, they limit us on the amount of deposits. Like if I have check deposits and I'm like, what? But like online. So that's one of the things too, is that it's the digital capabilities, because I run a business in 3 different regions and 2 different states. I might be in New York at a conference or whatever. I need to be able to run my business 100% online. And if my bank can't do that, and if they're limiting me to $10,000 deposits, like that's not going to work for me. So I need to be able to work online. The other thing that this bank talked to me about, which I thought was great, is being able to assign different people. So like I can assign a COO an account, and it's locked down, and you can give her as much capabilities as you want, and she can make deposits, or she can send a wire, or whatever. You can give different people different permissions,
max amounts on them. So like our bookkeeper she used to come in and she would do all the reconciliations, right, for us. And she would have access to all of our accounts. However, she doesn't have access to take any money. She didn't have access to like do anything like sign a wire or anything like that. But she got access to view, calculate, reconcile for us, and give it to our CPA. And so it was awesome. And it was all online. And, you could tell when they were logging in and not, and what, all the things, but so amazing. To be able to do that. The other thing we wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to forget, was like if you need mobile check deposits, like do they have a mobile check machine, right? So that was something for us back in the school days before all the ACHs. We needed a mobile check deposit. And so we could do that from home. I could bring home checks and literally deposit them from here. So I didn't have to go to the bank, which is really, really convenient when you have 10 schools or 10 locations or 10 schools or 10 businesses or 10 sites. Does it, can you do integration with your payroll? That's not as important to me. It's definitely on there, but my integration with ADP was that they could at least pull the funds directly from our account. So I didn't have to do that extra step. That was a time saver for me. Was there real-time alerts? I get real-time alerts anytime somebody does anything on the accounts, including the kids, which is really great and a good savior for me. But also on like our Amex, like it's all linked in, right? So we see everything that's happening. They have a 24/7 line for customer accessibility in case you need it off the cuff. Not for everything, but at least they'll be able to manage like emergent stuff. And they don't have a ton of locations, but it doesn't matter because their online presence for me was really what I needed. I don't really care if my ATM works everywhere, right? Like your bank cards. I didn't really care about that. I cared more that like if I was in New York, like you, Rachel, could I do a wire or what limitations did I have if I was traveling? If I was like literally in Japan, and we did a $7 million purchase on a real estate building for the full amount from Japan in the middle of the night. So my middle of the night, right? So that's really important to me because I do travel a lot. So as you do as well, what type of loan and credit options they have, and what does that include for your team, for your family, for your kids? What kind of, we have a cashback program at our bank. So, it's a Visa debit card and we get cash back on that. We use our Amex almost all the time, to be honest, but we wanted to make sure the kids could have access to Visa debit because if they don't have money in their account or they don't have enough and they're at school, how quickly could we get them funds? And that's just like real life mom stuff, guys. Like sometimes you need to send money. So that was important to us. Paying their school online, right, was important to us, things like that. Housing, and do they have any additional perks, right? Is there anything that they're going to offer you that other banks aren't? And I think, do they have like business networking events? Do they have discounted legal services or a team that they work with? So our bank actually got us, our accountant, got us our bank. And so I loved it because that was a great referral for us, right? It was also good that they work with him because it's a part of our team now, right?
Right.
I think those are the main things.
And I just wanted to touch on, in addition to, because we're talking about managing our top line and our bottom line. So yes, you're right. This is more our top line. So talking about managing our bottom line is also negotiating vendors. So when your own company as it is, you should always be auditing your vendors. You should always be auditing, are we getting the best price? My grandpa always told me to always shop around your work comp every year, shop around your insurance every year. You always should be shopping around, like Julie said, annually. It should be something that you're constantly doing, but also as you're acquiring other businesses, you don't have to keep all of their vendors. So you're acquiring these businesses and you're looking at their vendor list or whatever, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to save me so much money on my bottom line because I have all these other vendors. Now we can combine services, we can negotiate now that we've got this much bigger business. Are you able to give us bigger discounts? Absolutely. And things like that, which always ask for a discount. That's what Julie said, closed mouth, whatever you said, closed mouth.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Get fed.
Yeah.
Always ask for discounts. Jen, when she first came on, my COO, that was one of the first things she did, like her first 6 months, is she went through all of our vendors. She always asked for a discount, and then she would always push back. Is that all you can give us? We are giving you this much business every year,
Yeah.
So always asking for a discount, always asking for also not only like a discount, but what other services can you provide for us so that possibly we can combine services and eliminate some of our vendors.
Or what else? Like what other vertical maybe that you could do with them, right? Or is there anything that you could tie in for your spouse's business or your kid? Like I always ask about what they can do, like what we don't have, what other products do you have that may interest me, right? Because sometimes you don't even know what you don't need. It's the same thing as you don't know what you don't know, right? So I agree, Rachel. And I think when you're doing vendor stuff, you can talk about what you're doing, but I think if you're not analyzing and like just reevaluating every year on what you're spending, it's not a good practice for your business either, because I think you end up, there's somebody was talking on a talk show the other day I was watching. I just happened to like see it come up, and it said people like that don't go to their employers every 2 years and talk about what they're worth to the company could be making 15% in another company if they just changed companies, just because of the way that the world is working with inflation. Same thing, if you don't change vendors, new people coming in are getting better rates because they're being offered programs or incentives that you're not going to get because you're already a customer. It just
And
is what it
also
is.
asking your current vendors too. Same with your current bank, like Verizon. We have Verizon. So every year, Verizon, I ask them, what is your current plans that you can give me? I just did that. It saved us $50 a month. It's not very much money, but it's $50 a month across the board.
$100 a year.
Yeah. And we added more services and we're still saving money. So just always be asking how you can save money from your current vendors, but also be shopping around for new vendors so that you can get a savings, but also maybe more services and things like that. Oh, as far as vendor management, I think that's what you were talking about, Julie. As you scale, it's very important that you have a way to manage your purchasing and that it's not something that A, you're doing all yourself. You can't do that. And B, that you're just letting your leaders do on their own and that you're kind of just managing. Like you give them all a credit card and then maybe they get approvals, whatever. As you grow, that's not going to work because it can easily get out of hand very quickly. So it's important that you have a way to manage your purchasing. We are using a program called order.co, and that is we can set up budgets, we can have different people from different locations and different charts. So it goes to the different chart of accounts. So if it's for program supplies, if it's for maintenance, whatever it is, we can sort those things. And as soon as they purchase things, it automatically will go into our chart of accounts. We set up our chart of accounts to match our QuickBooks chart of accounts. Yeah. And so our team is able to do those things on their own, which makes it a lot easier for on our bookkeeping end, but also the approvals come directly to me. So I can see, do I approve this? Does it fit within their budget? Whatever, it will stop them if it doesn't fit within their budget. There's another program, order.co, we have to pay, but the good thing about order.co is that it's a flat fee. So if you have a lot of locations like I do, the flat fee isn't as bad. There's another program called SpendBridge, which has a lot more capabilities than order.co does, and we like them a lot, but it's more expensive because they charge you per location. Right. But then there's another one that's free, and it's called Divvy, Divvy. And if you are growing, I would suggest to start with Divvy because it is important that you are managing those accounts and putting it into the right way. And it's basically like a credit card, so it's a little bit different than the purchasing platform. But everyone who has a credit card in your company or your kids or whatever, they have to, whenever they do, it's an app. Whenever they do a purchase, they have to say this is for program supplies, blah blah blah, and then it will get sent to whoever's managing it to approve it. And that's how that one works. So but some type of purchasing platform that you can manage in one location is much better than everybody having a credit card or you doing all the purchasing yourself.
Yeah. And I was going to just interject here because I've sold, to private equity twice now on a very large scale. They need you to not be the person controlling the purchase orders because when you sell, you aren't there anymore. So there's no more Rachel, there's no more Julie, there's no more Andy, there's no more Monica. There is a purchasing order that someone has to manage back to corporate, to the private equity. So having those things in place are really important for legacy exits, because if you are a part of the business or you're the main part of the business for a lot of those pieces, that's going to be a challenge for the new company coming in that has to then replace technically you and the jobs you did, right? So as you're getting closer to scale, we talk about this a lot in Wealth Masters, and just the succession planning, working with the end in mind. It's super important that you have a system for financial acumen, because all those things are things that, owners normally do. So
Mm-hmm. Well,
important.
I'm also the management team. So one of our acquisitions that we just had, it was that. It was, well, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. And we're like, well, that's so-and-so here.
Right. So if you're acquiring, you're experiencing that bleed
Yeah.
or pain on the onset. But then when you're selling, imagine how much more amplified that is when you're dealing with 10 schools, then there's nobody in charge of that, or
Yeah.
it's hard for sure. So I do agree that's something that as you scale, you need to put in place. Systems, processes, an operating system, right? For your platform has to include how do things get ordered and how do things get paid. On a very base level, that should even be even on a one site, business, you should still
Yeah.
have some
And it's
policies.
important to empower your leaders too. That was one thing too that I learned is, as we're acquiring schools, it was the owner or the management team that was doing all of the purchasing. So the leaders had no power. And when they did buy things, because they did have a little bit of, power, they were just scared that they weren't going that they were going to spend too much. They didn't know how much to spend. And so when you give them that autonomy, when you empower them and say, here's what you can purchase within this budget, and here's how to do it, it really helps them run your programs better. They're going to do a better job than you are if you're going to be the one doing all the purchasing, because they're there every day.
Right.
And they're going to save you more money, trust me, than if I was out there doing all the purchasing. I'd be spending all the money.
They also know what they need, right? Like, because they're on site. So a couple things. I know we always leave with three things, but I'm gonna I have a little list here. I want to just make sure that, because we are talking about banking, I don't want you to, sorry, I have the top of my pen in my hand. I want you to leave with kind of a structured synopsis. And I was writing kind of as we were recording to make sure I hopefully don't forget most of it. You can rewind and listen again as well. But I want to make sure that everyone has these things in mind when they're kind of searching. So account maintenance fees, we talked about negotiating or waiving or reducing monthly fees, maintenance fees, especially if you're maintaining the higher balance, right? ATM fees, wiring fees, loan origination fees, access to credit, HELOCs, we call them BLOCs, business lines of credit, overdraft fees, right? From account to account. So we don't really have any of that, right? And so it's also important to negotiate, because that can get pricey and can pull from that top line as well. Loan origination fees, we talked about lowering or waiving, or, just finding a happy medium for that. Minimum balance requirements. So negotiate to lower or eliminate those minimum balance, like we're talking about with the sweeping accounts, or avoiding fees when they fall below the threshold. And when I negotiate my rates, I negotiate them based on what my general balance will be. But if it goes under that, my rate doesn't change. So that's something also to think about, unless obviously if it drastically reduced, I think they would probably say, hey, what's happening? Are you not, if it was like that for a month or something, they might come to us. But in general, when you negotiate the rates, talk about all of those things, right? All those extraneous factors. If you have a sweep account, what happens, when the money comes out? Is it going to change the rate? All of that. Also ask about miscellaneous fees. Those can add up. like hugely. With banking services, or if your business, maybe you need to negotiate or eliminate them. Maybe your business needs a lot of wires per month. Then talk about, well, we are going to do 10 wires a month, or 15 or 40. Or so what does that look like? I know we have a wire, the wire amount is $10, but when I do a syndication, if I have 150 people wiring me, that's a lot of money that's going towards wiring fees. So we have to negotiate on that new account what that wire is going to look like. Now, extraneous wires after that can be billed at $10 a wire. But if I'm getting 150 people to wire within a week's time to fund something, to fund, a purchase, I don't want a $10 fee. That's a lot of money, right? So just to remember those things. And especially if you have a strong financial profile with the bank, you have leverage. So please use the leverage. Ask. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's the lesson of the day here, folks.
Yeah.
But just explore the options for fee reduction or elimination in the process, and talk to, if you don't want to leave your current banks. I'm not saying you have to leave your current banks, but have the conversations about, can you reduce our fees? Can you increase our interest rates? Can you give me more credit? What's the maximum credit you can give me at this location? Like, what are we looking at for DCR rates? Like, all of the things. Just have the conversation, be open, leave here today, hopefully, with a mindset to go and schedule a meeting with your bank and have those conversations and get clarity around all of those pieces. Because if you don't ask, you're definitely not going to receive. They're not going to come to you and be like, hey, do you want more interest? Like, it's not just something they do. But if they respect you and they admire you and they love your profile with them, then they will come to what's competitive out there today. And so that's sort of my, I think, take on leaving here today. That's I guess that's our financial takeaway today. Do you have a health takeaway?
Yeah, I do, because I'm actually working on a session right now on how to scale without losing your soul. And yes, which I'm in the thick of it. But yeah, one big thing is make sure that you take time off, which is really hard for me. And it's so good for your brain to just really have a day and turn off your notifications, read, write, sit in the sun, do something with your family. Yesterday, I took my son to breakfast. We had a family game night. I sat in the sun. I cleaned my room and organized and read and wrote. And today, my brain was on fire. Like, I was just like, my poor team was like, oh, Rachel's back to work.
But it's so good, right? It's so good when you have that time for like a recoup almost, right? Like a
recovery is just important as work for flow. And if you don't have proper recovery and proper work, you're not going to have flow.
Yeah. And like, we talk a lot about this society rewards people on like, go, 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 hustle, 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 burn, 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 right? The problem is, yes, like you can do that and you can do that in spurts, but I think there has to be like some recovery or restore or relax or whatever you want to call, triple R, like even just leaving the house for 2 weeks with Bo and just getting outside of the normal daily functions, expectations, routine. I came back with like all these new ideas. I had time to research. I had time to like go to all these things outside the box that I was trying to get to, right? It's just so important. I agree with you, Rachel. I think that's a great health tip for the readers, or the readers, the listeners, the readers, the learners, the friends, the glam and grinders to go with. So I think we gave them a lot of wealth tips on the banking side. And I think that health tip is incredible because it really is important to find the time to be creative, right? So we can always be creative when we're in it. And then happiness, I think you get happiness when you get recharge time.
Yeah.
You get happy when you get wealthy. So
yeah.
you know, increasing your top line while increasing, you know, your ability to function.
And managing your vendors so that you can manage your bottom line at the same time. And that's a lot of work. So you need recovery.
Yeah, and I think that brings happiness for sure, having the ability to just step back, breathe, recoup, restore, use some new practices and tactics that might, you may have wanted to use, just haven't had time, or even think about it. Like you probably haven't even thought about changing, you have thought about it in the thick of it, but then you can't do it because you're in the middle of it. So like having the time to even just call different banks and, get different terms, and talk about what you really need in a bank, right? I mean, had you not had that time away, I'm sure that's not something that you would have been doing this Monday morning.
No, and we've talked about it before, but it's about building capacity, and you need that recovery time to build capacity. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, great session today, I think. Hopefully,
Yeah.
they'll leave with lots of golden nuggets. As always, the community is free right now.
Yes, we made the community free. We forgot to talk about that
Yeah.
because we want to grow the community. So right now our community is free, and we want you all to join and to contribute to the community as we grow it. And as we grow the community, we'll start to have more events and trainings and lives and things like that. So right now we're growing our community as we're doing all the crazy things that we do, and then we're going to be adding more to it in the future. So yes.
And we also love that, there's no economic restrictions or boundaries now or excuses for you not to be in the community. So there's a lot of really cool women in this community that are kick butt, that are doing some incredible stuff, guys. So take advantage, join the community. It's free. I don't have the link on here, but maybe we can add it to the YouTube or whatever. And you just go on there. It's a quick profile. You're in. There's topics on entrepreneurship, travel, kids, daily life, momhood, travel. Did I say travel? Health, cooking, recipes. I mean, honestly, everything. And what's really cool about the community is that it's not about Rach and I. Although we put stuff in there and give our opinions, it really should be about y'all. So like you guys helping each other in the community. That's really what the community is for. And then we will add opportunities for collaborations. We'd love to have you hop on and help teach us subjects that we don't know about and we want to learn about, and that other moms and other entrepreneurs want to learn about. So we just really want as many people as we can to get in that community. So please use the link. I think Rachel will hopefully post it. I'm like really bad.
I will.
Okay. So somebody will post it. But use it, get on there, share it with your friends. Impact for us is huge. And the more folks we can get in this community and the more people we can help is really what we want to do here. So help us help others. So if you can do that, we would be super appreciative. And yeah, if there's anything you need from us, let us know. Otherwise, have a wonderful day or night or whatever time you're watching this. And hopefully it was helpful. So thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.